All right. Thank you very much for joining us. Welcome to another beautiful Thursday. I don't know, it is spectacular here in Northern California. Hopefully it's nice where you are watching us from. Today we have, I think it's going to be a great show, and I do say that every time we do this, but we have Alex from the AEM product team who's going to be here, as well as Duy from my team, who's going to talk about custom workers for AEM Assets. And if you are familiar with AEM Assets, you already probably know that it is our asset management capability for not only websites, but mobile apps, and really literally anywhere that you have content. Now, the addition of AEM Assets into the Adobe Experience Cloud offers a great deal of opportunity for us, where we've got not only AEM Assets, but we have the Creative Cloud. And so Alex is going to talk about what new things we're doing, combining both the Adobe Experience Cloud and AEM Assets with the Creative Cloud. And then Duy will be here to talk about how Firefly can then extend that recipe for ultimate flexibility. So that is pretty much the agenda. One thing to mention, Alex is only here for the first half hour. So we are going to bring him in right now, and we will introduce him. Hey, Alex, how's it going, man?
Hey, Ron, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you, yes.
Awesome.
You
Thanks for having me.
You have changed your location, but it looks good. So
I have. Moving around the house.
It's all good. There's no skylight this time, but
No skylight.
again.
Gotta hide that one.
Yeah. Okay. So we're here to talk about custom workers for AEM Assets. But before we get started, so tell us a little bit about what you do and how you came to be on our show.
Yeah. Let me give you the elevator pitch of myself. So, Alex Thiers, I'm a senior product manager for the AEM Assets team. Coming up on 5 years at Adobe, actually next week. So,
Right on.
Somewhat of a
Congratulations, man.
veteran at this point, but yeah, it's been a fun ride. I joined Adobe in the consulting org for Scene 7, which was a lot of that creative production workflow design, helping customers really put together what they wanted to accomplish with their existing workflows and teams with the tools that they license from us. So really exciting to get in there and put all these pieces together. Now I oversee what we call emerging technology for AEM. So that includes things like 3D and AR and VR experiences, digital video, Creative Cloud and Doc Cloud integrations, as well as AI and machine learning. So really focusing on that content velocity story and how we can accelerate that for customers using AI, using API-based automation to really make that growing demand for content a little easier to bear.
That is very cool. So essentially, all of the really amazing things that our customers have been seeing at Summit main stage, with Sensei and that kind of content automation ideas, you're bringing that to life for real within the products, taking the vision and making it real.
That's it. And we're really putting a lot of thought into making this just easier for the typical AEM user and for the non-typical AEM user. We're really trying to expand to handle more than just the marketing content in AEM. And we've been moving to support those downstream workflows for a long time. And I think we do a great job about that. Really what I'm focusing on now with a lot of this emerging technology is moving upstream so we can bring those creative workflows more into AEM, but doing it in a comfortable way. We've seen pretty clearly professionals want to work in their tools of choice, whatever those are. If you want to work in AEM, you may not be that comfortable in Photoshop. If Photoshop's your tool, you probably are not going to want to work in AEM that much. And so really as we develop these new automation focused features, we really want to not just respect that, but really really help support those different personas to stay in their tools of choice, where they're comfortable working, and get the most value out of it.
That sounds great. So, I mean, that kind of keys into, before we talk about content automation, the asset link, right? So asset link tying, and that's been something in talking with customers in our customer experience center for years that I've heard, okay, you guys own Photoshop, you guys have AEM, can't you make those, work better together? And I think that's where asset link comes in, right?
It is, and it's always it's funny you say that, because the devil's in the details, right? Yes. How do you expect those to work as a practitioner? If you're a stakeholder, you have more governance concerns in mind. And so putting all those pieces together really defines how we integrate those tools. And Asset Link, I think, does a great job of that with enabling the check-in and check-out. We've also got integration with CC libraries, with Creative Cloud libraries coming in, which is a more open way to integrate. Similar use case, but without that governance there, to just share those assets between libraries. So again, more of an accelerated use case there, but really a lot of different opportunities to bring those teams together.
Yeah, and I think the strategy is great for us because, to your point of meeting the customers where they feel most comfortable to do that interaction, whether it's Photoshop or whether it's AEM Assets, whether you're in whichever interface you feel most comfortable in, we will meet you with the features that you need in order to create content at scale, right?
Exactly. And that's where I think bringing Firefly into the picture here makes it even more exciting, because we're unlocking that whole developer set of use cases for all of that great functionality we've added for the non-technical users. Now we're really unlocking it for that developer ecosystem.
Yeah, and I think that will be outstanding because I think content automation, we get into that, and I'll let you spend some time going through what content automation is, but then layering Firefly on top of that, like you said, being able to, as a developer, really dial in exactly what you want to happen, and on a repeated basis to create that content is, I think, a huge value for our customer.
Absolutely, and having Adobe handle the infrastructure of it, so you're not having to spin up your own environments,
Right.
that it's on that trusted integrated platform. It's really the best of both worlds.
Right on, man. Okay, so I was thinking that you could talk a little bit about content automation and kind of give us an overview. I don't know if you wanted to share any slides. I know there's couple of slides that are available, but I don't want to put you on the spot.
Ron.
Yeah, exactly. We can literally just talk through it.
Well, why don't I one up you? Why don't we show a little bit of a demo too?
Oh yeah, there you go. Well, we could certainly do that.
Everyone prefers demo to slides.
Yeah.
But yeah, let me give you the background. So content automation, it's both an add-on to AEM Assets, but it's really a concept as well that we're really investing heavily in. And at its core, it's an integration of these Creative Cloud APIs from Photoshop, Lightroom, and also Sensei for image cutout, directly integrated into AEM Assets. Now, those APIs exist in and of themselves, but we've handled all of the integration and all of that job orchestration using Firefly under the hood to really handle this enterprise scale asset processing and reprocessing pipeline. So we've got 7 operations out of the box directly in AEM. Image cutout and image masking using Sensei. We've got the ability to apply Lightroom presets. You can apply Photoshop actions. You can swap smart object layers. And you can also do some like Lightroom features like auto toning. So taking an image, a non-adjusted image straight from a camera and adjusting the light levels, and even auto straighten. So determining what a horizon is in an image that's off kilter and straightening it. Also an AI powered feature. So really exciting in and of itself, but also the fact that the Creative Cloud teams have this initiative to develop more APIs. So this is just the beginning, right? We've already working with the Adobe 3D teams on the APIs they're developing, and InDesign as well. DVA, Premiere, After Effects, and Audition are all developing APIs as well. So when you put this together, it's incredible the power that this unlocks, especially when from an enterprise company, they can have these set up as out-of-the-box workflows directly within AEM. They can extend them in real customized, tailored, bespoke ways, and they're all supported. It's really exciting, and I think going back to the content velocity story, I mean, we're supercharging it with this stuff. We've seen cases where customers can accelerate their workflows for image cutout by 50 times. So process 50 images in the time it would take them to do one. And with the automation, what becomes really cool is you can almost enable that author to just toggle through and approve or touch up the assets that are automatically processed without having to manually go through and crop them or do masking around. Hair is the worst, right? I don't know any creative professional who's excited to do masking around hair, and this does it in a matter of seconds. It's really powerful.
That's very cool. Hey, so we have a question. Let me pop this up here. And so basically those 7 out-of-the-box components, the question is, can these capabilities be combined? And yeah.
Great question. So they can be combined. Now, right now, these are applied at the folder level. So we have in AEM, we have these processing profiles that are usually used to generate renditions. If you're uploading a specific video file, you could determine what kind of a video rendition you want. In this case, we're generating these new creative renditions. And there's a couple things you can do. You can take those renditions and run them, say, through an approval workflow and have a person approving those results, and then send them downstream to another phase of that automation or to a manual workflow. We have also enabled the ability to actually generate new assets. So with the Photoshop Actions, for example, you can generate a banner and have that being saved in the DAM to a separate folder. So you're not losing any of the work you've done with those original assets, but you've generated a new asset. And you can apply a different profile to that folder and really start to stitch together this multi-stage architecture that turns AEM from being this really highly structured, highly governed repository to being a highly structured, highly governed workspace where you're generating content rather than just storing the content. And again, this is just the beginning. I think for me, what gets really exciting is the vision of all the possibilities of stitching these together in new ways, in modular ways. Like, I come from an audio background, and I always envision this as a modular synthesizer, where you can actually route one operation to another and send that to an approval workflow and send that to an archival, and then also have another split going elsewhere. And I think that's really where we're going collectively at Adobe, so that you can combine these in the way that you want, whether that's sequential with approvals or all at once, or simultaneously going to different outputs, one output going to one channel, another going to a social channel. So possible to combine them now, but it's really we're just scratching the surface on that.
That is fantastic. So yeah, as you were saying, the audio reference of a modular synthesizer, I was thinking of the Oberheim Matrix 12, one of my all-time favorite synths, which anything could modulate anything else. So the sounds that it created were amazing. And so I think that's a great thing to look forward to, is building these assets in a really modular way. Very cool. Okay, so we've got about 15 minutes until you have to jump off the call. So I wanted to jump into, did you want to show a demo and kind of give folks an idea of what it looks like and how it works?
Let me share my screen here, and I'll...
And then we can bring Duy in, and for the last maybe 5 minutes or so, we'll chat a little bit about kind of the Firefly side of things before you jump off.
Sounds good. No, folks, don't judge me on all my Chrome tabs that are open.
Yes, Chrome tabs. It is the way we live. Even though they've made groups, groups aren't not, they don't stay from session to session. So we live in a world of hundreds of tabs.
All right, here we go. Is my AEM window visible?
It is. We are
All
looking
right.
at it right now.
Excellent, excellent. So this is my trusty demo folder where I've got some of these things already set up. I'll show, image cutout, I think is a great one to start with because it's just so easy to incorporate. So many of our customers have these manual workflows where they're dropping backgrounds from images. And I think this works really, really well. I would venture to say almost always works well with product imagery because they tend to be, in this case, like a 3D rendering, they tend to be just really structured with a good amount of contrast around the product and the background. And in this case, within seconds, we have a cutout of this. In this case, you may want to go in and touch up the shadow there because they applied a drop shadow. But the ability to basically upload the asset and immediately have the background dropped out in seconds is really powerful, especially because you can then say, like you mentioned, asset link earlier, we could send this straight through asset link, have the creative team touch it up, and done, again, within seconds. But what I like to focus on is what I mentioned earlier, which is just my nightmare for creative production, which is hair. Now, admittedly, I don't have a whole lot of hair, so it's probably
it's like for me, this would be a non-issue. But
yeah, this isn't the worst of it that we've seen. But again, it's just amazing to me the capabilities of the Sensei backed feature. That here, I'll zoom in. I mean, it's perfect. It's literally perfect. And again, the speed at which this is processed is what's astounding to me. So in this case, with the image cutout, within seconds, you're generating these assets or these renditions of those assets in such a way that allows you to accelerate everything you're doing downstream. Now, I've actually, going back to the topic of combining these, I have dynamic media enabled here. And one of the big features from dynamic media is smart cropping. And from that image cutout, I have the results of those coming here to this folder where we're doing smart cropping, also Sensei backed feature. And what's awesome is that I've already got these smart crops defined down here at the bottom. And what blows me away is that within seconds, we've taken one image, uploaded it, and processed it through a couple different workflows that within less than 5 minutes, I've got 15 different renditions of this image that are ready to be delivered to an experience. The cutout isn't 100%, I think, with highly stylized images like lifestyle images or beauty shots. You're gonna see some varied results. I think it's important to be transparent about that with AI features. But you get 80% of the way there. That's huge time savings.
Yeah, totally. Definitely, I don't think there's any creative professional designer that loves doing repetitive work.
Right. You got it. And that's really what this is about. It's automating that repeatable work that is really perfect for automation. There's always going to be a place for that subjective artistic direction. And this isn't intending to replace that at all. Actually, it's really trying to bring it in. So here's an example of the Lightroom presets where we've actually had the Lightroom team create these different presets and we uploaded them to AEM. The format, they're just XMP files. So we can upload them to AEM, refer to them in this profile. And then here, when we upload this image, each of those renditions comes back according to that Lightroom preset. So you can, again, you're respecting all of those creative steps in that asset lifecycle, but we're just bringing that upstream phase into AEM to automate it. And you can see, I mean, there's no just flat change here. It's not changing the background color. It's really intelligently applying those presets here. And again, within seconds, we're getting a number of different versions that can be used in various experiences, whether those are marketing context or internal experiences. Really powerful.
Are the you mentioned that the Lightroom team has uploaded these presets. Are they static presets that the user is unable to change, or like if I have my own preset for Lightroom, can I upload that as part of this, or not yet?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. So there's a wealth of presets that you can download. These are just some samples that we've uploaded.
Yep.
Yeah, anything that you come up with, if you have those rights to AEM to upload and create the profile, absolutely supported.
Right on.
And I think probably the one that excites me the most is Photoshop Actions. Actions are a way of thinking about that, are like an Excel macro. It's just a recording of a number of steps that you can do in that desktop application. And you can export that as an ATN file. And I have a few of them here. And what we've done is, again, created a profile so that once I apply that profile to this folder here, every image I upload subsequently is going to be processed according to that. And every time I look at this, I find the results astounding. We had a banner created for Summit and had them create an action according to that design for the Summit banner. And here, we just take a stock image of Chicago, and we get this nice banner that's been cropped, adjusted, layers added with text, the full gamut for something that you can use again immediately in a marketing context. And you could have a profile with a few different actions, one for a landscape banner like this, another for a square banner, and another with a portrait resolution, and immediately generate all of that content exactly how that creative professional intends it to look, but without them having to go through all of that tedious work of generating each of those renditions with a work order.
That is
really
very cool.
exciting.
So is that so talk a little bit about for customers of AEM, how do you get content automation? Do you need dynamic media? Like what are the things that you need to do kind of what you're showing here?
Yeah, great question. So the only requirement is AEM Assets cloud service. If you have cloud service, you'll want to reach out to your account lead or CSM, and it's a paid add-on. You have up to 1 million operations a year allowed. You can purchase in higher amounts, but you basically get effectively an unlimited entitlement to use these operations. If you have dynamic media, it becomes even more powerful because you can just automatically publish those assets right as soon as they're generated. But it's not a requirement.
Okay. So it adds more flexibility to have dynamic media.
Yeah.
Okay, that's very cool. And so it's good that you mentioned it's AEM Assets as a cloud service, because I think that's something we didn't mention at the beginning. This is only for cloud services customers. So again, it's new functionality that we're delivering for those customers that are on AEM as a cloud service.
Yeah, and it's one of the benefits that comes with this cloud refactoring. We didn't just port 6.5 over to the cloud. We really re-architected it. And one of those pieces was offloading asset processing. So we have a whole separate platform called Asset Compute that handles all of the processing of assets, whether that's PSDs, generating a thumbnail preview, or generating that video rendition of a specialty video file. Or in this case, using those Photoshop or Lightroom APIs to generate new creative renditions. We've offloaded all of that from AEM. So there's going to be no dip in performance as you're generating all this content. And it allows us to have better controls over the processing, the throttling. It allows us to support the customers as they do these huge launches in a much more involved way. We really are in there and can get the live dashboard on seeing what everyone's doing at once. So I like
and I
love
don't know
to
if
nerd out there.
Yeah, I don't know if you want to mention like what's powering the rendition creation outside of AEM or not. But yeah.
Well, so it's a good question. So we have a number of in-house tools that we've built. For images, those are based on Photoshop libraries. So in a way, it's interesting because now that we're integrating the Photoshop APIs, at the core, way upstream, those are based on the same Photoshop libraries that we're using to generate those Photoshop file renditions. But downstream, they get exposed as different APIs. So our own team has developed these image workers, as we call them, that use the Photoshop library. So we tend to prefer in-house where appropriate, right? And if I'm not sure of any third-party external services that we have used yet. But with Firefly, it's possible, right?
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
The exciting
thing. This is what it unlocks, is certainly the ability to create your own workers. Hey, we've got a couple of questions. I'm aware of time, and I know you've got to jump. So let me throw a couple of these. So will the renditions get stored in dynamic media or in AEM?
That's a good question. So by default, content automation results will always be written back into the DAM as a rendition. That will always be the case. And in that case, those renditions will always be in AEM. If you set up that profile to generate a new asset, the renditions on the original will still be there in AEM, but that new asset, if that's in a dynamic media enabled folder, that will be published to dynamic media, or it'll be synced to the dynamic media servers and published when you enable publishing.
Okay. And then we have someone who's, they're part of AMS, so this won't be available to us. And I believe that is the case, correct?
That is the case with content automation. You can get access to some of these APIs directly through Creative Cloud, so that's a viable option. But important to note, you get just the raw access to the APIs. You don't get any of the extra functionality and orchestration that our teams have developed.
Right, exactly. And then the last one, will the generator renditions, presets, image cutout, auto-tune get stored in dynamic media or in AEM?
Looks like we just answered that one. So yeah, if you generate a new asset, it can be stored in dynamic media, but by default, renditions cannot be selectively published to dynamic media.
I gotcha. Okay, yeah. There we go. Okay, so those were the questions we've had. I want to bring in Duy here for a minute. Well, not for a minute, but just as a little bit of an overlap here, since you have to jump. Welcome, Duy. Thank you for joining us. How are you doing today?
I'm good, thank you. It's still
good.
Summertime today.
Yeah, so you're going to share a little bit about the unlock that Firefly brings to content automation. And so we're going to go through. You're going to give a demo of that, and kind of starting from where Alex left off on showing, what you can do with the UI. We're going to show what a developer can do by creating their own custom worker. So I don't know, Alex, is there anything about, you've mentioned, certainly the value of Firefly for content automation. And again, Firefly is currently developer preview, and we are soon going GA, and it will be available for customers to purchase on top of content automation, again, also as an add-on for AEM. And that is information will be out soon about pricing and availability and all that sort of stuff. But I guess, Alex, how do you see Firefly then providing value to the current content automation customers or customers that are not yet content automation?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think it really, well, like I mentioned earlier, it unlocks that whole developer ecosystem and all those varied sets of use cases, right? To extend content automation past what we've developed out of the box. Again, we're trying to support those non-technical users with the out-of-the-box capabilities, but the developer persona is so fundamental to AEM implementations and day-to-day that we really need something to allow that flexibility with guardrails. And that's really, I think, where Firefly shines, is that we've got the ability to do custom workflows, custom multi-step workflows, incorporate third-party APIs, incorporate in-house databases if you want to hydrate that new asset with some kind of in-house metadata. All of that is supported. So it really unlocks that next horizon of extensibility.
Yeah, exactly. If you've got a complex workflow and you want to absolutely dial in a repeatable process, then definitely Firefly is where it's at for getting to the next level of content velocity, which seems kind of crazy, but yes.
It's the nitrous oxide for
exactly
acceleration.
Okay, I see an image being created now for a future presentation. Dewey, some ideas for your Dev Live presentation. So
that's right.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, exactly. I'll work.
Thanks,
I'll work
guys.
with you on that.
I gotta bail, but it's been a pleasure chatting. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much, Alex. I appreciate you taking the time.
Take care.
Thank you, Alex.
All right. Yeah. So just to mention also to folks that are watching, we have Dewey. You have a session. October 4th or 5th? I can't remember which day it is.
It will be October 4th, if I'm
4th.
not mistaken.
Yeah. I think you're probably right. But October 4th, we have the Adobe Developer Live conference, online conference, the 4th and the 5th. So we will have a ton of announcements and new things to talk about around Project Firefly, and certainly all of the other developer-focused capabilities through AEM Commerce, AEM Sites and Assets, etc. So definitely join us for that. We have one more of these sessions that'll be in 2 weeks, and we're working on what that topic is going to be, but definitely join us for that before the Dev Live. Okay, so Dewey, you were with us, or you heard kind of what Alex was saying around content automation and kind of the demo and everything. So let's take it, let's turn it up to 11 now and talk about how Firefly adds to this, to what you get with content automation, and talk about, I guess you're going to go through the code lab, right? The demo that we've got.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Right. As you heard from Alex earlier, content automation is absolutely great for kind of individual steps that call different Creative Cloud APIs for the renditions of your assets. But at some point, if you really want to kind of apply a workflow, let's say, for example, you want to first auto-tone your image to make it like brighter for the next step, and then you want to apply like the banner creation on that auto-tone image, and then probably you want to like extract the color out of the banner in order to give it to the studio for printing. Then that's kind of a multi-step process that needs some customized code in your asset compute process to go through all of them, right? So that is something you need more than the content automation in order to have that process completed.
All right. Yeah, exactly. So that as you're saying, the multi-step process and
right.
Definitely more complex workflows. And certainly the more that you can automate, the more quickly you can get to exactly the end result that you're looking for, and basically address a wider audience potentially with personalized content. We did a study internally at Adobe where we looked at with personalization on adobe.com, how many assets we would have to create to really meet the needs of creating individualized content for kind of a one-to-one marketing for customers. And it over a 3-year period, the idea was that asset creation would need to jump 5-fold. And I think this is a great example of where you can take content automation and then kind of help you get to that next level. So do you want to jump into the demo, and we'll go from there, and then we'll bring the rest of the crew on, Dave and Sarah, and we can take any more questions.
Yeah, sure. So I will start sharing my screen now. I hope that you see my AEM screen, if that is.
I do. Look at that,
okay.
Man. It's right there.
Perfect. Yeah. So this is just an image that I've uploaded 2 minutes ago because I don't want to lose your time to wait for that to process. Anyway, this is kind of a bicycle image, and after I upload it to AEM Assets, there will be some more renditions apart from the out-of-the-box one. So first of all, that will be auto tone, so that the image get brighter, and then I have a Photoshop action for kind of run through the image and then generate a graphic design out of the tone, kind of the Python version of the image, so that we have kind of more graphical representation of the image. And then finally we apply the color extraction. Well, we call the color extraction API from Content AI of Experience platform, in order to extract the colors out of the image. And so after the graphic design rendition, we can also check the color that are generated from the kind of the last step of this process. So you can see that there are three steps that generate like 3 different kind of results from the auto tone, and then to the graphic design, and finally extract the colors, as you can see here. So that would be the start to our demo today. And so how to do that, right? How to make kind of a custom asset compute worker that can generate, that can process this workflow. So here's like a very high level architecture overview of what we have for the asset compute service. Well, the 3 main components here are, first of all, Adobe Experience Manager Assets, or AEM Assets in short, where you upload your image to. And then there's the asset compute service that maintain the communication between your asset compute workers and AEM. And finally are the workers that we use to generate the rendition. Those are different actions in the Firefly application. And so those can call the Adobe services, as we've seen recently for auto tone or Photoshop action, but they can also be any third-party services out there. And so today I will introduce, well, kind of walk through how to create a Firefly application from scratch, so that we have it in use in AEM. And to start with that, I will just go through my CLI. So I guess that you already have the AIO CLI. As let me make it a bit bigger.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Dewey, can you zoom in a little bit, or
right? Sorry about that. So is it now better? For
are you on Mac or are you on Windows?
I'm on Mac.
Okay, if you can just zoom in with the trackpad, pinch and zoom, that'll give you a little bit.
Right. So is it readable now, or?
Let me add Dave in here. Dave, how does it look?
It's a little small, but
Okay.
that's a little
Dave's,
better.
Dave's my QA.
Okay, so I hope that's good now.
It's better. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. So with the AIO CLI, we can init the application as usual with app init, and then I will just name our app Lightroom Asset Compute, and then you will be prompted for a few with a few questions about which organization are you want to create your app, and then which project do you want to create it from. So I would just select the custom asset compute project. And then, so there can be different extension points of your application. In this case, we are writing an asset compute worker, so I'm going to choose the second option. And then at this stage, it will automatically bootstrap your application, install all the dependencies from Node.js, from npm, and then we will have the kind of the template app bootstrapped. So we don't need to wait for that. And in the meantime, I'm just open the app in VS Code so that we can have a kind of a deeper look into what is inside. So in the as any other Node application, we have the package.json file that contain apparently the dependencies on Asset Compute SDK and a bunch of other things. At the root folder of the application, we have the app config file that defines all the extension points, and in here we have one extension point, which is Asset Compute Worker, and then the Asset Compute Worker is inside the source / dx Asset Compute Worker 1, and in here we have kind of another config file for this extension point. So we can see that it's a worker process with a type action, and the implementation is the action worker, and then we have a few hooks for running as well as testing the application, and then one action which is now called worker. And if we go to the worker action, by default it does what it does is very basic. It just check for the source file if that already exists, and it simply copy the source file to the rendition. So it's a one-to-one copy without any manipulation. Let's start with this simple worker for now. In the CLI. So I'm opening my terminal. So first of all, in order to make it work, we need to update the environment variable. So I will show you how it looks like with the environment variable for the Asset Compute Worker. So I will just show you the example file because it has no, also that I don't show any credentials here. So you can see that it has all the runtime kind of credentials for auth, for namespace, and the API host. What is special for the new worker is that you need to configure either an S3 bucket or an Azure storage account for your local development. So to make it easier for local development, so in order to allow you to upload your test assets to some cloud storage for running the test worker, then you just need either S3 or Azure. So in this case, I will just use my Azure storage account, and the same as before, I'm just going to select the well, I just copy over my previous credential so that I don't so that it pick up in my dev environment. So I'm copying it to .env, and I guess that now we are set to go with the AIO app run now. So after AIO, so the AIO app run will spin up a local environment for you with a kind of a simple UI that allows you to test your workers. And okay, so now that the now that the local dev console is up, you can see that in here you can select different assets from your storage account. You can of course add a new one from localhost. I probably have enough, so I don't need to add more into that. And then here you can define which worker you want to use, as well as the name of the rendition. So in here I have the worker action, which is good, and the rendition. And then I will just click on run. And by doing that, it will spin up the container that runs our rendition processing that we have for now. So that's simply a one copy from the source. It will take probably 10 seconds. Oh, okay, so it's done now. And as you can see, it just show what I have in the image. So without any manipulation. So now let's say if we want to enhance it with like Photoshop auto toning, then what should we do? Let's go back to the project here, and then let me just stop the development server in order to apply the Photoshop magics. We will need the dependency of the Photoshop SDK. So I will just copy it from the other project so that we don't duplicate it more. So we will need the Photoshop library API and the AIO SDK, which we will use for the files storage. And then I will need a UUID. Just I will explain it later. And then after we add the dependency, I will just run the npm install again. And in the meantime, we will update our code with the new with the auto tone magic. So to make it fast, I will just go ahead and okay. So for that, we will need the files SDK for storing the kind of the rendition on the cloud storage. We also need the Photoshop SDK, as you can see here, and the UUID to generate the unique name for your rendition. And then in the worker, we will need the parameters for authentication, and then we still need to check if the source if the source image is there. So we will keep this one. We don't need to copy the rendition anymore. So I'm going to remove this one, and I will replace by a new piece of code. And so I will walk you through each of the steps here. So what we are doing is that we just initialize the files SDK. We create a UUID for the temporary folder that we store the rendition in our file storage, and then we copy the source image to the file storage so that we can send it to the Photoshop API. We initiate the Photoshop SDK using the token from the parameters as well as the API key. And then we call the Autotone service to generate the new rendition. And then we finally copy the rendition result back to our rendition, well, the designated location of the rendition. And we also need to clean up, so we delete the temp folder on the file storage. And because here we need the API key, which is not available in the param, so I'm also add that as part of our action here. So I will add another input for API key, and the name would be from our environment variable files. So that will be service API key. I will save that. By the way, I should save the file, the code as well. And now let's start the application AO app run again.
And so you're still in development mode, right? So we're still on the development side of things, and the workflow is that you develop it locally, and then you push it to, then you push it live, which then to production. Then you can access it from AEM. Is that how the process works?
Well, so locally, thanks to the Azure storage that we have configured earlier, we don't need AEM at all to develop this locally, and that is kind of the powerful the power of this tool to run locally without AEM, so that we don't need to kind of spin up the whole AEM just to test the worker. Instead, we just select the assets that like directly from the cloud storage for our use, and that would help not to spin up another AEM just for this.
Right. So for developers, it's great because it's all local and you can do this.
Exactly.
Once you're done with this, is this now available, or will the production custom worker then be available in AEM?
Right. So I guess that we have 5 more minutes, so I will.
Yeah, exactly.
So we don't need to wait for this to finish, but just after we update the new worker, then we will have a new rendition using the Photoshop API to finish that. Assume that we are done with everything local development. Then we just need to run. Okay, let me go back to my terminal here, and probably I will open a new tab for that. So once you're done with your local development, you can simply do AO app deploy, and then it just deploy the asset worker to our runtime. And then from here, you can pick that. So after you deploy, you will have a URL of your assets worker, and then you can use that to configure in AEM. So while that is running, I can go to my AEM.
And just to point out, like normally you would get a URL that would then potentially. So if you're building like a single page application, Firefly SPA, it would allow you to see that inside of Experience Cloud Shell, right? That app would show up. This custom worker template, though, is unique in that it doesn't do that, right? So you're now jumping from here into AEM.
Yeah, but you still have like a web action URL that allows you to configure in AEM. So you just need to copy what you see here to AEM, and in AEM, like you go to processing profile, and then in processing profile you can just add the services according to what you need. According to what you want for your renditions. So this is my existing processing profile. So it has the auto toning service. So I just paste like the auto tone web action to this one, and then the same for Cutout and graphic design, as well as for the auto for the color tag magic. And because for the color tag, we just need to generate the metadata rendition, with you can see like the list of the colors. So we just enable the metadata here, and then that will be also the web action URL that you need to put. So Ron, I think we are closer to the hour, so I'm back to you if we have any questions.
Yeah, I'm gonna bring Dave and Sarah on, and let's just talk a little bit about. So essentially, I guess let's go back into AEM. And so once you've built this code in Firefly, and you have this processing profile, that you've got this custom endpoint, then when you want to update that, then the process is just going back into your code and making those changes, developing locally, kind of adjacent to AEM. It doesn't impact any of the AEM functionality that you've already deployed. And then once you hit deploy, you go back into do you need to go back into AEM to then update anything about that processing profile with your custom worker on it, or is it automatically updated, I guess? Does that make sense?
Well, so you only need to configure your processing profile once, and even later, if you want, if you update your workers, that automatically applies in AEM without further configuration.
Okay, right on. So that's great. So then there's nothing that a developer would need to do back in AEM. Once they've configured it, they can just make any changes, and when they hit deploy, then once they run their QA and all their testing, then it's solid for all their end users of AEM. Go ahead, Dave. You're muted, Dave, but that's okay. And actually,
yeah, they would need to go back into AEM when they move workspaces, though, when they go from like their development space to stage to production. Each time they republish into each of those workspaces, that URL that you use for configuration would change. But usually those would be different instances of AEM, right?
To exactly.
Stage against. So
that's a great point, Dave. So so for each instance, if you've got stage, production, etc., you would then deploy this into each of those.
Into Firefly, and each of the URLs would be different. Then you go into AEM and put in the different URL to each of them. So
okay, kind of not crossing the streams like in Ghostbusters. So
never cross the streams.
Never cross the streams. All right. So it's super cool. It's I think there's a great deal of flexibility. We really just scratched the surface here with Dewey's demo, so I appreciate that. Let's see. We do have a question here. I'm going to pop it up on screen. Is a Photoshop action script, so banner generation and presets, whatever show in the demo available publicly? And I
believe it's currently available through a beta program. So if you're an existing customer, you can actually request access to this beta program, and you can get access, and hopefully in the short future, you'll actually be able to purchase this and actually use it as a customer.
Right. So I guess let's just talk a minute about the question. So is this about content automation with AEM or Firefly, right? So if it's content automation, customers can purchase that today. But if it's Firefly, certainly we're not GA yet, and it's not available for purchase, but will be in the near future.
There's a good demo out there on YouTube as well that we watched this morning. To apply Photoshop and Lightroom capabilities with AEM Experience Manager and content automation. I'll post that in the chat here in a second.
Yeah, that would be great, Dave. Thank you very much for that. That's a great demo. Kind of expands on what Alex showed earlier. Good stuff. All right, kids. I think it is time for us to end. We are at the hour. So thank you, folks, for joining us. And if you didn't get a chance to watch us live, hopefully you are watching this on a recording on YouTube. And thank you very much for your support. And we'll be back in a couple of weeks with another session of exploring Project Firefly. And have an awesome Thursday. And Dewey, thank you very much for the presentation, and Alex as well. And there we go. I will talk to you guys in a bit.